Part 1. Emma Thompson clutched her handbag tightly as she walked through the heavy glass doors of First Capital Trust. The morning sunlight streamed through tall windows, catching dust particles that floated in the air. This wasn't her usual branch, but today's errand couldn't wait. Emma had worked hard all her life. Growing up in a modest home with parents who stressed education above all else, she had climbed steadily through the business world. Now at 42, her investment firm had just completed a major acquisition, and the paperwork required her personal attention. The bank's marble floor echoed under her simple flat shoes. Emma had chosen comfortable clothes today, a neat blouse, and practical skirt. No need for the power suits that hung in her office closet. Today was about getting things done, not impressing anyone. "Good morning," she said to the young teller. "I need to deposit this check, please." The teller, a freckle-faced man named Peter according to his name tag, looked down at the check Emma had slid across the counter. His eyes widened slightly. "One moment, please," he said. "For a transaction of this size, I'll need to get my manager." Emma nodded patiently. She was used to this. The amount on the check was substantial, the first payment in a series that would follow the recent merger. 5 minutes passed before Peter returned with an older man in a crisp gray suit. His hair was perfectly combed and a gold watch glinted at his wrist. "Good morning," he said without smiling. "I'm William Barker, the branch manager. I understand you want to deposit this check?" "Yes," Emma said. "I'd like it processed today." "Please." Mr. Barker picked up the check, studying it with narrowed eyes. Then he looked at Emma, taking in her simple clothes and natural hairstyle. "This is quite a large amount," he said. "We'll need to place a hold on these funds for at least 10 business days." "That won't be necessary," Emma replied calmly. "The funds are verified. I spoke with the issuing bank this morning." Mr. Barker's lips thinned. "Nevertheless, bank policy requires additional verification for customers such as yourself when handling unusual transactions." Emma noticed how he said, "customers such as yourself." It wasn't the first time she'd heard that particular tone. "I see," she said, keeping her voice even. "Is that written policy?" "It's standard procedure," Mr. Barker answered, not quite meeting her eyes. "Perhaps you normally bank elsewhere?" "I do," Emma admitted. "But today I'm here." "Well," Mr. Barker slid the check back toward her. "You might be more comfortable at Community Trust on Elm Street. They handle more modest accounts and might be better suited to your needs." A flush of heat rose to Emma's cheeks, but years of business negotiations had taught her to control her reactions. She simply gathered her check and identification, tucking them carefully into her handbag. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Barker," she said. As Emma walked toward the door, she felt the eyes of everyone in the bank following her. She kept her head high, her back straight. Outside on the sidewalk, Emma paused to take a deep breath of fresh air. She pulled out her mobile phone and made a quick call. "James, it's Emma. Please schedule a board meeting for tomorrow morning at headquarters, 9 o'clock sharp." She paused, listening. "Yes, I just finished my visit to the Westfield branch. Very educational. And James? Make sure all regional directors attend. This is important." Emma slipped her phone back into her bag and smiled slightly as she walked toward her car. Some battles weren't fought with raised voices or immediate confrontation. Some battles required patience, planning, and the power that came with position. And in 24 hours, William Barker would learn exactly what position Emma Thompson held at First Capital Trust. William Barker arrived at First Capital Trust headquarters precisely at 8:30 the next morning. The towering glass building in the financial district gleamed in the morning sun. His stomach churned with worry as he rode the lift to the top floor, wondering why he had been summoned so urgently. "Mr. Barker," the receptionist greeted him. "Please have a seat. The board meeting will begin shortly." "Board meeting?" William's mouth went dry. Branch managers rarely attended board meetings. Something was wrong. The elegant waiting area offered little comfort as William tried to recall any recent mistakes or policy violations at his branch. Everything had been running smoothly, Profits were up. Customer complaints were down. Well, except for that odd woman yesterday with the large check. But surely that couldn't be the reason for this meeting. Mr. Barker? They're ready for you now. William followed the assistant down a long hallway to a large conference room. Inside, 10 people sat around a polished oak table. At the head sat Robert Davies, the CEO of First Capital Trust, looking unusually serious. "Thank you for coming on such short notice, Mr. Barker," Davies said. "Please take a seat." William sat in the only empty chair, aware of the eyes watching him. "We've called this meeting to discuss an incident that occurred at your branch yesterday," Davies continued. "A customer was treated with unusual suspicion and effectively told to take her business elsewhere." William's collar felt suddenly tight. "Sir, I assure you we follow all proper banking protocols." The customer in question, Davies interrupted, was Emma Thompson. The name meant nothing to William. Davies passed a folder across the table. Inside was a photograph from a charity event, and there, standing beside Davies in an elegant suit, was the woman from yesterday. "Ms. Thompson joined our board of directors 6 months ago," Davies explained. "And as of last week's acquisition, she is our largest individual shareholder." William felt the blood drain from his face. "She was conducting a personal inspection of our branch operations," Davies continued. "Something she does regularly with all our locations. No special treatment, no announcement. Just an authentic customer experience." A woman to Davies's right cleared her throat. "Ms. Thompson invested in First Capital Trust specifically because of our commitment to fair banking practices and equal treatment for all customers." Imagine her surprise when she experienced quite the opposite. William's career flashed before his eyes. 20 years of climbing the banking ladder, all to end like this. There must be some mistake," he stammered. "I was simply following security protocols for large deposits." "Were you?" Davies asked. "Because our security protocols say nothing about directing customers to other banks based on how they dress or how they look." The conference room door opened, and William turned to see Emma Thompson enter. Gone was the simple outfit from yesterday. Today she wore a tailored business suit, her confidence evident in every step. "Good morning," she said, taking a seat beside Davies. "I apologize for being late." "Ms. Thompson, William began. Emma held up a hand. "Mr. Barker, I'm not interested in apologies. I'm interested in actions." She opened a laptop and turned it toward the board. "Yesterday's interaction was troubling not just because of how I was treated, but because it raises questions about how many other customers have received similar treatment." The screen showed charts and figures, denial rates for loans, account openings, and investment services across different branches. "Your branch, Mr. Barker, shows a disturbing pattern," Emma said. "Customers from certain postcodes and backgrounds face significantly higher hurdles than others, even with identical financial qualifications." The evidence was damning. William sat in stunned silence as Emma methodically laid out the data that tracked his every banking decision for the past 5 years. "In light of this information," Davies said, "the board has made a decision." William closed his eyes, waiting for the blow to fall. Part 3. William Barker sat alone in his small flat, staring at the termination letter in his hands. The paper trembled slightly. 20 years of banking experience ended by a single interaction. The severance package was fair. More than fair, really. But money couldn't buy back his reputation or his pride. His phone buzzed endlessly with messages from colleagues who had heard the news. Some expressed shock, others quickly distanced themselves. A few suggested he call a lawyer. But William knew the truth. He had judged someone based on appearance, and it had cost him everything. The evening news played quietly on the television. A segment about Thompson Financial Group caught his attention. There she was, Emma Thompson, cutting a ribbon at a new community bank branch in one of the city's poorest areas. "Our mission is simple," she said to the cameras. "Banking should be accessible to everyone regardless of their appearance, background, or the size of their account." William turned off the television. He couldn't escape her, or what he had done. That night, William couldn't sleep. He paced his small living room until dawn, replaying every customer interaction from his banking career. How many people had he judged unfairly? How many deserving clients had he turned away or made feel unwelcome? The patterns became clearer with each painful hour of self-examination. By morning, red-eyed and exhausted, William knew what he needed to do. It wouldn't restore his career, but perhaps it might begin to restore his humanity. He showered, shaved, and dressed carefully in his best suit. Then he sat at his kitchen table and began to write. The letter took hours to complete. He wrote draft after draft, crumpling papers and starting again. The words had to be right, honest, without excuses. When, finally satisfied, William folded the letter neatly and placed it in an envelope. He addressed it simply, Ms. Emma Thompson, Thompson Financial Group. The headquarters of Thompson Financial Group was across town. William could have posted the letter, but that seemed too easy. Some things needed to be delivered in person. The bus ride gave William time to think. 6 weeks ago, his life had seemed perfectly on track. Regional manager position coming open, retirement fund growing nicely, respect from his peers. Now it was all gone. The Thompson Financial Building looked nothing like the cold marble halls of First Capital Trust. The lobby featured comfortable seating areas, plants, and walls painted in warm colors. Children's artwork hung in frames. Projects from the financial literacy programs Thompson ran in local schools. May I help you? Asked the receptionist. My name is William Barker, he said quietly. I don't have an appointment, but I'd like to leave this letter for Ms. Thompson. The receptionist took the envelope. I'll make sure she receives it. Thank you, William said. As he turned to leave, he noticed a bulletin board with job postings. One caught his eye. Community Financial Education Coordinator. Excuse me, he said to the receptionist. Could I have information about this position? The receptionist smiled. Of course, let me print the details for you. William left the building with the job description in his pocket. It was a long shot, perhaps the longest shot imaginable. But for the first time in weeks, he felt a tiny spark of hope. That night, William worked on his application until midnight. The position wasn't in banking. It was teaching people about banking, helping those who had been intimidated or confused by the financial system. People he had once dismissed. As he finally closed his laptop, William wondered if Emma Thompson would even read his letter. And if she did, would she see it as the empty words of a desperate man or the first stumbling step toward making amends? Part 4. 3 weeks passed before William heard anything. He had almost given up hope when his phone rang one Tuesday morning. Mr. Barker, this is Olivia from Thompson Financial Group. We'd like you to come in for an interview regarding the community financial education position. William nearly dropped the phone. Yes, of course. When would be convenient? Tomorrow at 10. 15th floor, ask for James Porter. The Thompson Financial Building looked even more impressive the second time. William arrived 30 minutes early, his portfolio tucked under his arm, his best tie knotted perfectly. The interview room was bright and airy, with large windows overlooking the city. William was surprised to find not one interviewer but 3. James Porter, the Human Resources Director, Helen Wright, the Community Outreach Manager, and a third person who wasn't introduced right away. Mr. Barker, James began. Your application was quite unusual. 20 years in traditional banking, ending as a branch manager. Why the sudden interest in community financial education? William took a deep breath. Recent events forced me to reconsider my career and my values. I've spent years working in a system that doesn't serve everyone equally. I'd like to use my knowledge to help change that. Helen leaned forward. This position requires working with people who've been excluded from traditional banking. People who might not trust someone with your background. How would you handle that? William thought carefully before answering. I'd begin by listening. I can't pretend to understand everyone's experiences, but I can acknowledge them and learn from them. The questions continued for nearly an hour. William answered honestly, not hiding his past mistakes but focusing on what he had learned from them. As the interview drew to a close, the third person finally spoke. "Mr. Barker, I received your letter." William turned, finally recognizing Emma Thompson sitting quietly in the corner. She moved to the table and placed his letter between them. "You wrote that you wanted to make amends. Why should I believe that?" William met her gaze directly. "You shouldn't, based on words alone. I can only ask for the chance to show it through actions." Emma studied him. "Would you walk with me?" They rode the lift to the rooftop garden. Workers tended to vegetable plots and flower beds during their lunch break. The city spread out beneath them, a patchwork of wealth and poverty clearly visible from this height. "This garden feeds 3 community kitchens," Emma explained. "Every employee spends 2 hours each week tending it. Would you be willing to do that?" "Of course," William replied. Emma pointed to a neighborhood in the distance. "That's where I grew up. When I was 19, I tried to get a business loan to start a small catering company. Do you know what the bank manager told me?" William shook his head. "He said I should get a job as a waitress instead. He never even looked at my business plan." Emma turned to face him. "Do you know why I started my own bank, Mr. Barker?" "I assume you saw a good business opportunity," he replied. "I started it because banking should help people build better lives, not just make money from them." She gestured around them. "Sometimes our greatest obstacles become our greatest motivations." William nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. "The job isn't yours yet," Emma said. "We have other candidates, but your banking experience could be valuable if paired with genuine compassion and a willingness to learn. That's what I'm still trying to determine about you." Part 5. 6 months later, William stepped through the doors of the Pine Street Community Center. The old building had once been a bank, but now served the neighborhood in different ways. Today, the main room was set up with rows of chairs facing a small podium. A banner hung on the wall. "Financial Freedom Workshop." William adjusted his tie nervously. After a 3-month probationary period, this was his first solo workshop as the official community financial education coordinator for Thompson Financial Group. The journey had not been easy. Emma Thompson had not given him the job right away. Instead, she had offered him a temporary position, volunteering 15 hours each week while working part-time as a cashier at a local supermarket. William had accepted without hesitation. For 3 months, he had worked alongside community organizers, learning to see the world through different eyes. He had heard stories that broke his heart. Families denied mortgages despite perfect credit scores, small business owners struggling against unfair loan terms, elderly people confused by financial products designed to be confusing. Slowly, William had earned trust, not through words but through consistent actions, helping a young couple understand their first mortgage application, working with a single mother to set up a college fund for her children, teaching teenagers how to build credit responsibly, and now 20 people were filing into the room, taking seats and looking expectantly toward the podium where William stood. "Good evening," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "My name is William, and I'm here to talk about something that shouldn't be complicated but often is: banking." In the back row, William spotted Emma Thompson slipping quietly into a seat. She gave him an encouraging nod. "Before we begin," William continued, "I want to share something personal. I used to be a bank manager. I thought I understood banking, but I didn't understand people. I didn't see how the system worked differently for different people. Today, we're going to talk about changing that." For the next hour, William explained banking terms in plain language. He showed people how to read the fine print in contracts. He answered questions honestly, especially the difficult ones. "Why should we trust banks at all?" asked an older man in the front row. "You shouldn't trust blindly," William replied. "You should demand better. Know your rights, ask questions, and if you don't like the answers, take your business elsewhere." After the workshop, a young woman approached William with a business plan tucked under her arm. "I want to start a bakery," she said. "My grandmother's recipes are special, but I don't know where to begin with financing." William looked through her carefully typed pages. "This is excellent work," he said sincerely. May I arrange for you to meet with our small business advisor next week? I think you have exactly what they're looking for. As the community center emptied, Emma joined William as he packed up his materials. Well done, she said. You've come a long way. William nodded. Thank you for the opportunity. Not many people would have given me a second chance. Second chances are valuable, Emma replied, but they must be earned. Together they walked outside into the evening air. The city lights were coming on, office buildings glowing against the darkening sky. Those towers of glass and steel represented both barriers and possibilities, depending on who was looking at them, and more importantly, who was allowed inside. We're making progress, Emma said, but there's still so much work to do. William looked at the community center behind them, then back to the financial district in the distance. Yes, he agreed, but now I'm finally doing the right kind of work.